I'm just trying to see if, I mean, this might be getting excessive. I feel like you guys are like, what is wrong with you? Hurry up. On this episode of Claire Recreates, we're tackling a subject that I actually grew up with and really love, the Milano Cookie, mint and regular chocolate, and I'm so excited because I love these. We had like a handful of like cookie type things in the house. It wasn't like a thing we always had, but like occasionally would have Milano cookies and I love them. And I would have like a couple of Milano cookies with milk and they're so good. That's how I remember them.
And why this for your holiday special?
So I think the Milano cookie is a great subject for our holiday episode because it's like the mint and chocolate, which feels kind of holiday leaning, and they just feel kind of fancy, which mostly has to do with, I think, the script in which Milano is written and the commercials, which I still remember to this day.
Pepperidge Farm Milano Cookies. Rich chocolate, exquisite cookies.
But let's see if they hold up, because I have not had one in a very long time. 15 distinctive cookies. They're really selling it. Cute little paper cups. They're smaller than I remember them. I thought that they were bigger. Super uniform, but not exact, which is good for me to note. Do they really match up with the photo? I would say it's close enough, but they have the kind of little tail from being piped, which is like good intel for me. Very, very pleasant mint chocolate aroma. Like good, the smell is good. So here's the mint ones. Of course, the mint has just the mint layer in addition to the chocolate. They're not all uniform in terms of color. Some of them are darker and particularly darker around this edge. Some of them have a little bit of like a peanut shape, like a tiny little waist, whereas others are just kind of plain oval. So the variation in size is good for me because I feel like that's how homemade stuff is. So this is the dark chocolate. Very satisfying, like breaking. Very delicate. It's not too sweet, which is rare actually for like a store-bought thing. The texture is amazing, like super crisp and light all the way through. Like an impressive cookie, but definitely room to improve flavor-wise. Okay, let's try mint. It's a super thin layer of mint inside the cookie and the mint adds some sweetness, which weirdly is kind of like nice. That added sweetness kind of works well. I think the weak link in the Milano is the cookie part itself. Great texture, but like not so much flavor. And the chocolate, but the mint version is like an enhanced version of the original. Everything seems to be sort of in the like 6.3 to 6.5 centimeter range. There's some variation in size. So I feel like on my version, if I can get cookies, but in that same range, I'm not so worried about like perfect uniformity like I would be for like a different type of store-bought cookie. The width is somewhere in the like 3.2 3.4 centimeter range. Thickness, we're looking at each cookie being between 0.4 and 0.5 centimeters. And then the total thickness here is about 1.3 and the chocolate itself is like 1 millimeter thick. Weight, let's do regular first. So that one's 12 grams. 12. 11. All right, so I'll take the average and call it 12. The regular chocolate is 12 grams. And then the mint is 13, 14, 13. All right, so for the regular, I'm gonna call it 11 to 12. For the mint, I'm gonna call it 13 to 14. So let's take a look at the ingredients. I'm gonna do regular first. That's this one. Okay. Enriched wheat flour, parentheses, flour, niacin, reduced iron, thiamine mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, close parentheses. Semi-sweet chocolate, parentheses, sugar, chocolate processed with alkali, cocoa butter, milk fat, soy lecithin, vanilla extract, close parentheses. Sugar, vegetable oils, parentheses, palm and or soybean and hydrogenated soybean, close parentheses. Eggs, then it says contains 2% or less of cornstarch, salt, baking soda, soy lecithin, natural flavor, non-fat milk. Let's take a look at the mint version. Same list, and then it just says contains 2% or less of cornstarch, salt, baking soda, soy lecithin, milk fat, peppermint oil, natural flavor, non-fat milk. I think the only thing added is peppermint oil, which means somehow that mint layer is made out of things that are already in the cookie, in the original. I was not really expecting that. I thought maybe it would give more hints about what that layer is, but I have an idea anyway. Okay, so my game plan. I'm gonna start with the cookie component because I think that's going to require the most amount of tweaking. So number 1, make and bake cookies. Number 2, I'm gonna say make the mint component, and I think it's gonna basically be a fondant, like a mint poured fondant. So make mint fondant. Because of that snap, like that, I think the chocolate is tempered. So step 3 is gonna be tempered chocolate, and number 4 will be assembly. Do you wanna say your Milano tip?
I always played a game that basically facilitated me eating many Mint Milanos when I was a kid, of how to like separate the 2 cookies. You can put them in the microwave for like 5 seconds.
It melts.
It like attacks the filling before the cookie. So that 5 or 10 seconds and you'll be able to take them off.
Okay, I'm gonna try it. Oh my God, here's it. It literally perfectly
That's what I'm saying.
separated. Wow. So see on the mint ones, they're a little offset, right? The 2 cookies. And so on the mint side, the mint is all the way to the very edge of the cookie. So I think what they do is they apply the mint, they dry it, and then they sandwich it with the chocolate side. So that kind of adds another step here. I'm going to cover some of the cookies in the fondant and let them set. We were talking about something and it made me think kind of randomly about this. Oh, we were talking about ladyfingers and like what a weird name that is. And then it made me think of another French cookie with a weird name called langue du chat, which means cat tongue, which to me was like not weird because it's like, oh, I have 3 cats. And then when we were talking about Milanos and I was thinking about it last night, I was like, oh, actually, like I bet the cookie is basically langue du chat, and it's a sort of piped cookie that is distinctive for the kind of like darker ring that it gets around the edge, and it kind of flattens out and spreads into sort of an oval shape. And that's what these are, I'm pretty sure. Especially since you see like the little piping, like little tail or foot or whatever you want to call it. I know that when I make this, the tweaking is going to come in the bake time and temp. I have a recipe in my old culinary school cookbook for like lesson textbook for langue du chat, so I'm going to look that up. Okay, so basically it's a really straightforward recipe to make. The ingredient list included a little bit of baking soda, which I think is gonna help with that lightness, so I'm gonna add a little bit of baking soda. Soda will help with browning, but I don't want it to brown. Maybe I'll do powder instead, a little baking powder, just for that like puffing action, the leavening action for the cookie. Because I don't want as dramatic a browning around the edge of the cookie as you get with the traditional langue du chat, I'm gonna do a lower temp. So let's start at 350, which is like that middle of the road temp, and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna get my oven on 350. I gotta grab the butter, the egg whites, flour, the powdered sugar, and then vanilla salt, baking powder. I love any cookie recipe that I can make by hand. I love any recipe I can make by hand. I'll have to go get out some pieces of equipment. So I'm gonna grab some bowls and some spatulas. I'll need a piping bag. I don't know what size piping tip I'm gonna use. Oh, no kitty. No kitty, you can't come up here. Sorry. Here, go on your little stand. There you go. Okay. So I just wanna work this with a spatula and get it all homogeneous. Now I'm gonna add my powdered sugar. So I'm gonna sift this over. It's pretty lumpy, the powdered sugar. So even though I'm whisking, and it probably would work out any lumps, I'm sifting it just in case. A lot of sugar. So I just wanna work this into the butter. Be really careful at the beginning, otherwise it's just gonna go flying. Definitely a hand mixer or stand mixer would make this faster, but I really like making stuff by hand. So I want this just to be nice and creamy with like the sugar fully incorporated. And then I'll switch back to the whisk. It smells really good. I remember as a kid being like, wow, butter and sugar cream together is like the most delicious thing ever. So here, going with the whisk, just lightening it a little bit. This nice creamy mixture looks nice. I'm gonna add my vanilla actually right now. Now I'm gonna do my egg whites. So I'm gonna try to really whisk this well. So now I just wanna mix my dry ingredients. I'm gonna get a separate bowl for that. Flour, plus baking powder, salt. So I'm just gonna get this in there. So I do wanna actually just work it until I have no lumps. All right, I think that's good. So I'm going to get this into my piping bag. The recipe said that for langue du chat, you do a 1/2 centimeter round tip, but langue du chat are like long and thin. And I want something in some ways like thicker and shorter, but also that's gonna spread less. So I'm just gonna go with this guy, which is maybe like a 1 centimeter, 1.2. I'm going to cut an opening in the bag. I'm gonna grab a sheet tray and a piece of parchment. I like to always use like a scraper of some kind for the piping bag. Just keeps the bag neat, helps you pipe better. So just gather the ends and twist. Okay, I might as well like be scientific about it and like draw it out, right?
Oh, like mark the parchment.
Yeah. What if I do a 4 centimeter long line? What if I do 5 centimeters? How much is it gonna spread? Let's try 5.5. I just have to read the numbers backwards. What the tail is implying to me is that it's piped like this. And then it's like the little flick. But it's too uniform. And what you end up with is at one end that's fatter, which I don't want. So I'm just gonna cheat it. Like I'm not gonna actually create it with the piping bag. I'm gonna go back in and add it. And when I'm piping, I'm trying to let the batter out of the bag in a way that's going to be way too small, I'm pretty sure. When I'm piping, I'm trying to move the bag in a way that is leading the batter a little bit, but is mostly letting it just kind of fall out of the bag as it wants to, so that I'm not making it thinner or thicker than the width of the pastry tip. So once I get to here, it's helpful to like cut it off, basically. So I sort of can't imagine that that's going to make a cookie that size, but let's see. I'll practice like pulling the bag faster to make the line a little bit thinner.
I feel like if I'm imagining the factory,
Uh-huh.
the tip would be coming from above.
Yes, I think you're right. Like it's like injected from above, and
Like
it's
top nozzle.
and it's yeah, the nozzle's like that. But that's harder for me as doing it by hand to control the thickness versus letting the piping tip determine the thickness. Does that make sense? Because it's like
Yeah, but
this.
Do you think that like when you nozzle from the top, it'll actually spread closer to the final?
I think that I'm going to try to control the spread more with the oven. Because like if you pipe like this,
That's the cookie right there. That's it.
maybe I do have to do that. Maybe that's perfect.
Kind of looks just like the cookie.
It does kind of look just. Should I try a couple of those?
Maybe.
And see what happens. Okay, fine. All right. All right. Oh, but that reminded me. I didn't go back in and make the tail. Am I going to be able to do it on this? I was just thinking of like adding a little dab of batter like that. At 350, I'm going to put these in. This was just experimental round. I don't know how long it's going to take. It's not going to take long. They're really small. I'm going to put them in actually on the bottom rack. I need to fix my racks. I'm going to set the timer for like 7 minutes and check. Interesting. Not in a bad way. They have that very dark ring around the perimeter. Too dark. The tail all but disappeared. So there's that on all of them. The ones that I piped from a more upright piping bag position and did the little flick of the tail, the thing happened that I thought would happen, which is that one end with the extra bit of batter for the tail got too thick. So it's more like pear-shaped. Part of the ring is the sugar content that's in it, but I have ideas like you can insulate the baking sheet. Maybe I'll insulate the baking sheet on the next round. Double thickness, and you won't get as much browning on the bottom. I want to evaluate the texture when they're cool. I might play around with the idea of putting them back in the oven on a lower temp to dry out, because what I don't want is for them to be cakey at all. I want them to be that crisp texture all the way through. I'm just gonna let them sit for a minute, and then I'll get them off the baking sheet. So these have cooled. They're a little bit warm, but I can handle them. They come off the baking sheet so easily. Like, not bad. Not bad at all. So each one was 6 to 6.5 centimeters. This guy we're looking at 6. So the 5 centimeter piped turned into 6 centimeters baked, and the 5.5 piped so turned into 6 centimeters baked. And then obviously 4.5 and 4 were too small. I also want to look at the height. So let's take one of the ones I know is too small and cut it in half. So there was a little crunch. The texture is cakey. It's not that crisp all the way through. So that's telling me that they do need to basically be like dehydrated. When you take something cakey and dehydrate it, it does, there's all these tiny little air bubbles in there. And when you remove the water, it's gonna make that like super light, crisp texture. So I think that might be a good thing. So the thickness of each was between 1/2 centimeter and like 0.6 millimeters. This one's a little bit thicker, but again, if I dehydrate it, I'm gonna lose a little bit of volume. So I don't think that's a bad thing. We have like a little countertop convection oven, so I can use this one for baking and that one for drying. But let me just taste it, just for now. It's not too sweet at all. It's tasty. I mean, it tastes buttery. A little bit of vanilla, pretty plain, but not bad. I want to get these dehydrating. I'm going to do all of them as a test. I want to get them in at a temperature where they're not going to continue to brown. So I think like it can't really go higher than 200. And the time I'm going to put for 20. Okay. So I'm going to do kind of another round of a piping test. I'm going to make some new lines. And I'm going to try to insulate the baking sheet to prevent browning on the bottom. Here's my second sheet tray. I'm hoping that this does something. You know, it's better if I can even like trap a little bit of air in between them because the air will be insulating. Let me think if I can put something, I know, like in between. Even like this. This is so random, but these are like little shellfish pickers. So it's like this will create like a small pocket of air in between the baking sheets. They're oven safe. So it's like they fit together, but there's a little gap in between. I'm gonna make some new lines. So flipping this back over. I'm gonna do 5.5 and 6 and compare side by side, just to get a better idea, because if I'm gonna use a different size piping tip. The other thing about reducing that dark ring is just dropping the oven temp more. But I don't want to change too many variables all at the same time. That's one of my worst habits as a tester, is I get impatient and I just change a bunch of things when really should kind of try to change one at a time. And I'm already not doing great because I'm already simultaneously dehydrating and then looking at the texture and moving on to the next stage of piping. I'm going to do one more test at 350 and see what I can change about that dark ring. So this row is 6 and this row is 5.5. Now I'm like, should I turn it down to 325? Let's see. Again, but let me listen to myself talking sense to myself, which is just try one thing at a time. You know what? I'm going to leave some of it in here because maybe I go back to this piping tip. I'm going to try that piping method where the bag is horizontal and therefore I'm getting a kind of tunnel of batter that's the same diameter as my pastry tip rather than the more upright where it's kind of flattening out. I'm already feeling like this is a little bit on the thin side. There's no way that that's going to turn into this, is it?
Who knows?
I guess that's the point of the test, huh?
They spread and changed so much. I was surprised.
Yeah, they all kind of just turn into the same size no matter what. So because this seems so thin, I like Vince's suggestion of going back in with the original size piping bag. I'll do the 6 and the 5.5 again. Why not?
Yeah, by volume, those are much more.
They're like twice the
A
size.
lot more batter.
Yeah. Upon reflecting, this is never going to work, but let's just see what happens with these. Double sheet tray into the oven, 350 again. Changing many different variables, but not as many as I could change. Oh, wow. So the insulation looked like it worked really well, like, because there's 0 browning. So these are still really soft. Obviously, the thin ones, nothing happened. I'm going to put them back in. Like, I want a little bit of browning around the edge. The spread feels very uncontrolled. Just that it's not straight. It looks like I could go back in and shape. See how, like, I can just kind of give it like a little push from one side while hot. All right, I'm gonna put it back in and watch it really closely, just by the minute, to see when I start to get a nice pale ring around the outside. I got a little distracted because I was cooking potatoes for potato salad, and these got a little too dark, but I'm gonna show you. Oops. This test confirmed a lot of things. Because they're more even, like that ring around the bottom is thicker and there's less contrast between the center and the edge. It confirmed that there's more even baking all the way around with this method. That's a 20-minute timer on my dehydrating one. So now let's look at everything side by side. I'm gonna go pull those out. Let me see how much these shrunk. I don't feel like there was significant shrinking of these because this one is already measuring at 6.5. So good to know that I can dehydrate them and not lose a lot of dimension as far as length and width. Of course, I'll have to address the sort of curling issue where it bows. I think I can do that by dehydrating them on parchment paper, flat on the surface rather than on a rack. So that's good. Let me go ahead and taste the dehydrated one. Yeah, they actually are a little too crunchy. I wish they were more tender. These are a little, like, hard. I could switch to cake flour. Because cake flour is a lower protein content, so it makes more tender baked goods. The complication there is that by switching to cake flour, I might get a different spread. So I might have to do that oven test one more time with like the new batter. But I forgot about the tail, the little like flourish on the cookie. So I want to actually do a quick test of that with the old batter, which I don't really need actually anymore. My idea is that when I take them out of the oven, when they're still really soft and pale, is to actually add a dab of batter at that stage. So I like how pale they are. I don't like that the shape is not very nice. So here's where I'm going to go in and shape, but you know what? Let's try that tail. That didn't really work. The problem is that I'm adding room temp batter to hot cookies. Like it's melting and not adhering to the cookie that's already on the baking sheet because of the butter content. I could try letting them cool completely, adding the tail, well, and then putting them back in. Just thinking. It's such an insignificant, like little dab. If I did it with my fingers. I mean, that kind of works. Almost like painting it on. Look at how much bigger they got. Why are they so much bigger? Maybe it is the resting of the batter. I'm gonna put these back in and let's just see what happens with these little tails that I made. I'm gonna pull it out after like 3 minutes. In the oven. Wow, so the little tails are like not actually set at all. Well, maybe they're set enough. They're still pretty soft and wet, but like that one looks really good. That one looks pretty good. I feel like the method of letting them cool a little bit and then dabbing the tail on with my finger was most effective. That was a good test. I have to address the size and the waviness of the parchment. And I have a thought about that, which is to switch to Silpat, which is going to introduce a new variable. But before I do anything, I'm going to make the new batter version and then kind of do this same test again. So this is my cake flour version of the batter, just to go for a little bit of a lighter texture. And I have my Silpat on my double layer of baking sheets. I'm gonna make some lines on here. I'm gonna turn the oven on to 325 and we're gonna kind of start that testing over. I'm gonna do them all because I want to have an accurate test as far as timing in the oven with the full quantity. We'll be done by
9 p.m.
yeah. So I have my piped cookies. They're gonna go in. We're gonna do like a full test here of the entire process. So that was the 6-minute timer. That was on 325. Oh my God, they look overall smoother around the edges than the earlier versions. At this point, they're still really soft. I could kind of go in and shape, but you know what? It's good because they're pretty round and I can just shape the straight edges. I'm gonna shape them, and while I'm shaping them a little bit, they're gonna cool, and then I'm gonna add that little dab of tail. They look a little long. They're definitely big. The proportions are good. So obviously I'm just piping like a little too much, so that's good to know. I'm gonna just add some little dabs to the cookies. Oop. All right, so that looks good, and then I kind of like smooth the dollop. I'm gonna go ahead and do the tail for all of them, get it back in the oven at 325, and just keep checking them and try to get like a total bake time, and we'll see. I'm starting to smell a little bit of browning. Oh my gosh, they really look so great. Perfect amount of, I think, pale golden brown around the edge. The tail's puffed up a little bit. I think they actually look a lot like the box, right?
No, I think you gotta smooth the back end a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it could be a little smoother. Okay, fine.
They're close.
It's really close. I'll make them a little flatter next time, but very successful test. So I'm gonna let these cool. I'm also gonna start dehydrating them, and then I wanna do another round of just trying to dial in the size. So here I have one of my cookies, straight off the baking sheet. Most of them are currently drying. They're a tiny bit thicker, just a little bit longer. I think what I can do is lead the batter a little more, try to thin out that line, and just make them shorter. So it still has that cakiness, which is why I'm drying them. But, so they have like just a little bit of chew because of the moisture that's in there. They're pretty delicate. And I'm just confident that once they dry, the cake flour is gonna help make that like tender, crisp texture rather than like hard texture. Time to make my lines again. I just wanna make the lines a little bit thinner. And I'm using my finger because it's too annoying to like use the offset at the same time. All right, shut up. The timing is actually good. My last batch just finished drying. This batch is about ready to go in. I might just clean them up a little bit and pull off any excess.
The other ones were smoother.
I think they'll all kind of even out. It did occur to me that this might be easier if the dough were a little bit colder, but I don't want to change a variable at this stage. I might actually just be making it worse. Okay, I think I should stop touching these. All right, I'm gonna get these in the oven. And then while they're in the oven, let's look at the ones that just dried. They look good. They stayed flat. They didn't kind of bow as they dried out. They feel, do you hear that? They feel nice and firm. Still super pale, so they didn't take on any color, which is good. I think that they need to dry a little longer, because when I go do this, it has some of the snap, but it could be snappier. But when I taste from the corner, I'm happy with the tenderness. I'm really happy with the overall thickness. I think like an extra few minutes of drying will be there. And I'm also starting to think about the mint layer, and I kind of think that what I want to do for the mint layer is just like a confectioner sugar icing, because the ingredient list actually is surprisingly short. At first I was thinking like a poured fondant, but that has corn syrup in it. I don't want to add corn syrup to a thing that doesn't even have it to begin with. So I think just like a confectioner sugar glaze, a little milk, and some peppermint extract, that will dry hard. I think that's gonna get me there, and it's really easy. So I'm excited to move on to that part. Size-wise, we're in a good place here. I have a couple little peanut-looking ones.
But so do they.
But so do they, exactly. I'm gonna add the little tail. I'm gonna try to make it smaller. It was 5, rotate, and then more like 6 or 7, but they look done. These have just the most subtle ring of brown. The peaks look good too. I have to let these cool for a few minutes so I can get them off the baking sheet, get them into the other oven to start drying out, and then finally we can move on to filling. It is so dark outside. I'm just gonna give these a little shape. There's just a lot of size variation on these guys. I mean, it's not bad. It's getting late, sorry. Sorry guys. So I'm pairing them up. They don't have to be 100% exact, which is good because they're all different sizes. But I just want them to be somewhat close. Okay, these are good. They're not totally flat.
Won't the
Roll
chocolate
with
fix
it.
that?
Yeah, the chocolate will be sort of leveling. So I'm gonna grab a bowl, my confectioner sugar, my peppermint extract, and a little milk, and a whisk. You know, I don't need to make a lot of this. I just need a tiny thin layer to go on half of these cookies, or one side of each pair. Anytime you make a confectioner sugar glaze, it always takes less liquid than you think. So I'm like dribbling in the milk. Could just use water. The milk was on the ingredient list, and I think like maybe the little bit of added fat could be kind of welcome. You know what, I'm gonna add a little vanilla extract to it as well. Why not? But just like dribbling it in. And I'm gonna add, just drop by drop, the peppermint extract because I don't want it to be overpowering. I love the balance of flavor in the original. Let's start with maybe 2 drops. Is that 2? 2, okay. So this texture is close. You can see it's pretty thick, but I just want to taste it. I mean, it's sugar. Add a pinch of salt. It's pretty, I think the mintiness is good. I don't want to add more mint. So now what I'm going to do is take a cookie from each pair, a little dab of the glaze, and I want to be really careful about spreading it like absolutely to the edge everywhere in a thin layer. So this I've added quite a bit, and I'm going to scrape it off because I want it to be really thin. But that looks good to me, and that's going to set. So I'll just kind of do like a pass across it to remove excess. I think just leaving it exposed to the air like that will be enough to get it to set. But I'm happy with how that looks for the glaze. So I'm going to just do that to all of them. Make mint fondant, which not really fondant, then cover some with fondant and let it set. Amazing. Okay. All right, now I'm feeling good. So I'm going to set these aside to fully dry, and then really what I want to do is turn to the chocolate tempering. So I'm just chopping some block chocolate. I don't need a lot. Like I made such a small quantity of icing and covered a quarter of all the cookies. So I have 140 grams of chocolate. I think this is going to be more than enough. So I want to take 25% of that, which is 35 grams. Measure that out from the total. And now this is my seed chocolate. I do want to make sure that it's really finely chopped so that it melts easily. So I'm going to get the same setup for tempering my chocolate that I used in the Malamar episode, which was very successful. So it's my induction cooktops, a water bath. You can use the induction cooktop to get it just to the temperature I want, which is 116 Fahrenheit. Seed chocolate goes in, I drop the temp of the water down to 90, I add some ice, maintain it at 90, and just stir really, really, really well until the seed chocolate is totally melted. I'll take the temp of the chocolate, make sure that it's at 90, and at that point it should be in temper. And I am now at 89 in my chocolate, which is ideal. But we can just check with like a little stripe on the back of the offset spatula. I'm like so confident just from the way that it's already starting to like kind of lose that sheen. Oh, kitty, no, I'm sorry, no. So basically this chocolate we would expect to harden pretty quickly. Oh, thank you for listening. I can tell that it's tempered. Lifting this off, and I don't want to get any water in it. So I'm drying off the bowl. Now into my piping bag. I think I'm just gonna pipe like an oval shaped spot of chocolate and then sandwich. I don't know if this is the right amount, but let's see when I go to sandwich it. Okay, so I already just noticed a problem, which is that because it's not flat, I need to concentrate more on adding more chocolate to the ends. All right, so let's try that again. All right, same problem. They're just not flat. I need like a ball of chocolate on each end, and then I'll kind of connect it in the middle. All right, that one I feel is really successful. That one looks really good. I'm just gonna keep going, filling all of them. I might do slightly more chocolate, a little bit more on the plain ones, because it's not sharing space with the mint, but I'm just gonna get them all filled. I feel like I finished strong because the chocolate tempering was really successful. So before I do anything, I want to just cross off the last two on the list, which was tempered chocolate and assemble. So on like an individual side-by-side basis, mine got a lot smaller. They shrunk more than I thought they would. The color is really close. The kind of light golden brown edge is really close. Yeah, the foot and the bag look really good, right? Mine looks more like the bag. I'm pretty happy about that. Definitely was a little trickier than I thought it was going to be just in terms of uniformity, but that's kind of what you get when you're piping. Is it's like, at least with my piping skills, and with a batter that had that kind of consistency where it's like a little loose. Let's weigh them. I just want to see. 12 grams. That's what it says. Pretty close. Mine, theirs. Really close.
Yours just has a butter yellow.
That's true. The color of mine is a little more yellowish because of the butter, and I wasn't using oil. Pretty good. I think that looks amazing. They're definitely not quite as tender as the original, and even with all that powdered sugar that I added to the dough, they're not that sweet, which is great because the original isn't either.
New Year's party, a holiday party.
If we're making these for a New Year's party, I hope we have like 4 people coming to your party because it took me literally all day to make like 20 of these. All right, here's a mint. This one also looks great. You can see the distinct layers of chocolate and mint. It has that like dissolve in your mouth texture that I really wanted.
This is yours.
Yeah, it could be a little more minty.
So cool. Oh, look at that. It's got the mint layer. It's awesome. The texture is a little more crispy than crunchy. A hard pretzel is crunchy.
Yeah.
And potato chips are
crispy. Yeah. So I think it's a little crunchier than crisp.
It registers in Milano. It's amazing. And flavor-wise, it's like right there.
But well balanced, I think, with the chocolate.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool to have a
You're leading.
very, very good, my love. Very
Yeah,
good.
I am leading you. Thank you. So this one, what am I going to learn? What am I going to learn to stop being overconfident in the beginning? I really took my time with the cookie, okay? I appreciate everyone's patience. And I love Milanos, so I feel like I did it justice. And another Claire recreates in the books. As always, leave your suggestions in the comments below because we definitely look at them and take them into consideration, even though we did pick these out in the aisle shop right last night and decided on it just right then. But we have others. It's really fun, despite all my kind of like complaining today. I really do like doing it. So thank you so much. I want to wish everyone happy holidays. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.